As everybody sort of like the ghost story video I did recently, I thought I'd talk about creepy things I've seen in the woods. As I said in the other one, it was partially inspired by Weapon Collector's video where he did a thing where he said about, things from the woods and as well as, like his weird experience, ghost story kind of thing. So this one's more just like weird stuff in the woods, not really to do with ghosts, but there's a couple of weird things. So one of the ones where I have no explanation for, it's just really weird. I don't know if it's still there, I have to have a look. There's some woods near me, and somewhere in those woods there's a really big tree. I'm not quite sure if it's an oak or whatever it is, but the tree's really weird because it's almost covered in some sort of odd fur. Like I said, not all of these are, like paranormal or anything, but, and I don't know if it's like some sort of giant spider's web. Like you've had spiders all over the tree for years making webs, so the tree's like entirely coated in webs. And then you've got like loads of bird feathers and other sort of stuff that's come onto the tree and just stuck there in the web, or whatever the like kind of material is on the tree. So you've got this really weird looking tree where it's kind of not got any real leaves on it as such, but it's covered in this sort of web kind of material, fuzz kind of stuff, and then there's all these sort of bird feathers and random stuff stuck to the tree. Very weird to look at, and you wouldn't expect to see something like that in the woods, but I said, it's not necessarily paranormal, it's just a bit weird. Another one is there's some woods near me. It's the one I did the camo test in the other week, and I randomly went up there once and found where some sort of crow or something had died on a tree, and most of its body had rotted away, but for some reason the wings hadn't, and the wings were kind of just stuck on a branch, which is a really weird thing to see. Again, not much paranormal with that, it was just, a bit odd. I found like weird stick things in the woods before, not like Blair Witch sort of stuff, but where I guess somebody's been bored and they've decided to pile up sticks in a weird way. So you get like, not as in a bonfire kind of setup, but where somebody's just piled up a load of sticks to make a random kind of looking thing, and you're like, that's a bit weird, but I guess it's just bored people in the woods. And the kind of creepiest story I have with the woods was when I was a lot younger, near where some friends lived. There's kind of like a drainage canal thing. It's not canal, but I wouldn't say storm drain, but it might be a storm drain. I'm sure you know the ones I mean. It's where you kind of have a big ditch and then you have sort of big piping, and I think the idea is that if you have a lot of rainwater, so maybe it is a storm drain, it's not like a sewage thing, the water would go in there and then I guess it would find its way into a lake or a river or something much further down. And I think the idea is you build them where there's lots of concrete and houses, so when all the water goes into the like concrete, if you get heavy rain, the water goes off of there into the storm drain, and then it would make its way somewhere where it's not going to cause flooding. And, there's lots of weird stories that kids would tell about places like this. They'd say things like, oh, there's a tramp that lives down here that kills people, and, all that sort of stuff. It's all bollocks, but that's like the sort of stuff they'd say. So we went down there one time. I can't remember how old I was, maybe 15 at most, probably younger than that. And we were, like walking along, and then you'd hear like a footstep behind you, or a couple of footsteps behind you. You wouldn't necessarily know they're human footsteps, but when you hear, like in the woods, it's all really quiet and you'd get like birds and that, because although it's in an urban area, once you're in that like kind of storm drain thing, it's very isolated, just because there's so many trees and bushes around the outside of it, that once you've kind of found a way to get into it, it's just, very serene all of a sudden. You've gone from being in roads of cars and houses to just being in kind of like, because it was around autumn time we must have done it, because it was very orange down there. All like fallen leaves. So you couldn't see for the most part that some of it was artificial. It looked just kind of like you're in a sunken bit there. So we walking along, but as I said, when it's all quiet in the woods and you suddenly get something, step on a branch, and then, all the animals stop all of a sudden. We kept getting that. You'd walk a bit further and you'd hear us making, the crunch crunch as we walked, but then you'd get a sudden, like snap behind you of a twig, and you'd turn around and there was nothing there. So that was a bit freaky. Then we passed, I don't think it's a substation, but I'm sure you've all seen these. If you sometimes go out into woods or like more rural areas, you sometimes have like the chain link fenced off areas that are either for circuit boxes or for some sort of water pump or something like that. So it's, like something that has an industrial use out there, I guess, or a utility use that's fenced off so people can't vandalise it easily. So we didn't go in there or anything, but as we walked past it, once again we were like 20 yards past it, you heard like somebody running a hand across a chain link fence. Again, you know, you look around, you're getting a bit freaked out, nobody's there. But as far as I'm aware, the wind wouldn't make that noise because the wind wouldn't move the fence, or if it did, it would be quite a uniform noise. It wouldn't be, you know, it's like if somebody got a stick and just dragged it along the fence as they walked. And then as we were walking a bit further up, like all the leaves, where there was some wind, all the leaves picked up and they kind of did a weird shape. And I can't really explain that. I'm guessing it's like kind of some sort of mini cyclone, or maybe how the actual kind of trench bit sits for the storm drain. That means that it actually would cause the leaves to pick up and swirl around. I don't know, it's like one of those things you can't explain, but I think at that point we just sort of noped out and you know, ran the other way. I can't remember if it was on that occasion or another. We thought we heard voices coming from one of the darker tunnels. Like I said, this could just be me inventing memories by this point, but so I've been there with a few other people because it was, you know, quite a creepy place to go when you're a bit younger and were bored. But as I was saying, I can't remember if there was, like, on which occasion it was, or if somebody else told me they heard that and they could have been making it up, or we could have been overexcited, but where the drains were, sometimes, you know, it's like the open trench, and then sometimes there's kind of the tunnels where you'd have to squat down, and then it's kind of like a semicircle tunnel like that, where the ground's flat against it, and it's just for excess water to go down. But you know, it can get quite dark in there because the light won't naturally get in there. So you can see the light on the other side of the tunnel, but you can't really see much in the tunnel. And I think there's a few offshoot pipes from it as well to act, you know, as like extra drains. So I think a load of the street, not sewer drains, but just kind of water drains link into that as well, just so it obviously funnels more water in to stop flooding. So obviously there's lots of little dark sort of corners that go off it, I guess you'd say. But yeah, as I said, it was a bit weird, a bit creepy. It's one of those places I'd like to just take my car up there, park and just have a walk around now, because I bet it wouldn't bother me at all. But you know, when you're a lot younger in there, you let all the stories get the best of you. So that wasn't really the woods, but it's, you know, like kind of rurally, even though it's, you know, in a built-up area. As soon as you get in there, all of a sudden you can't see any houses or anything. You can't hear the cars because of the stuff in the trench and around the outside that breaks up the line of sight. But I thought that was sort of maybe something people will find creepy. I'm sure after I've done this video I'll think of more weird stuff in the woods. Near me, there's, as well as the woods where there's that weird tree, there's also, like, I don't know what it is, I'm assuming it's a water utility storage tank, but it's kind of just a big fenced off area randomly in the middle of the woods. You know, there's barely any signs there. Now and again I've seen like Land Rovers parked outside. Obviously you wouldn't climb the fence because there's CCTV there, and like I said, I know there's occasionally people there who are obviously there on some sort of business, but it's not really marked up what it is. I think it might be like a Thames water storage thing, but it's not very clearly advertised for what it actually does. But you know, it's a bit weird because you're suddenly in the woods and then you find a big chain link fence and you know, like all these security cameras and sort of like, you know, big security gates. You're like, why is this here? It looks a bit, you know, Area 51 like, but again, I think it's something completely mundane. It just happens to be in the middle of a load of woods without much explanation on why it's there. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. Breaks it up from a gas mask video every day a bit doing these, and because it's getting closer to Halloween it's quite fun to do them. So hope you enjoyed it.